TikTok, TikTok, TikTok. Listen, kids 8 to 17, 9 to 17, close enough in the ages. Their top favored platforms are YouTube, Snap, and TikTok. But what's going on with TikTok? We heard so much about it last year. We heard a lot of commotions. It was going to be banned in the United States. People were in a panic. Media was putting out all kinds of stories, leaving kids horrified. At least they told us that. And under the Biden administration, we heard that we're going to shut down TikTok. It is a national security ban. Now, at the time, I kept asking, okay, what about the, ban for kids? What about the harms to kids? Forget banning. Banning is a word we don't like at the Warriors, okay? We want to face things head on. We want to make sure things work, right? We have guardrails. We have talk with our kids. We don't want banning, right? But here's the thing. So under the Biden administration, national security threat, and everybody in Congress, and you can't use TikTok anymore in Congress. And okay, again, no discussion about kids and safety. I mean, after all, I guess it's become normalized. People have become habituated to TikTok challenges such as, remember the Kia, where rashes of Kia vehicles were being stolen across the United States, fueled by Kia challenges on TikTok. Eating Tide Pods, who does that? Also, there was one fairly recently within the last year. Now this is warning as I tell you this, find the heaviest object you can stand in your house and drop it on your feet. And a girl dropped a microwave on her feet and had to get some toes amputated. Now, if that isn't enough, now we have the Trump administration. And we have seen, the Trump administration over the course of just about a year now, since he's taken office, we are going to get TikTok, Chinese company, their parent company, ByteDance, BYTE. We are going to gain control. We're going to keep TikTok in the United States, but we're going to gain control of the algorithms. I'm kind of breaking it down elementary. And because we know, we have proven studies, many of them, the algorithms, that is information, what everybody's seeing, how it's fed to you. It's not by accident. You're looking up, how to make toast, and the next thing you get ads for toasters, all kinds of things. You know this, right? It's all related. The studies show, though, how kids could be innocently looking at, I like to say, an apple. And by the second or third click, they're led down this rabbit hole of content that becomes sexual, dangerous. We have all the studies. Who's allowing this? The United States, apparently. So now the Trump administration says, okay, well, we're going to form, a coalition, a group. We're going to take back the algorithm. We're going to have American owners, blah, 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 blah. And we had about 3 delays that I can think of off the top of my head. It was, it's due by this date in February. Then it was delayed another 60 days. And just a lot of kicking the can down the road, as we like to say here at the Warriors. Okay. Quietly on December 18th, just a couple of weeks ago, not even 2 weeks ago, frankly, I see this about 3 o'clock in the morning. I see this deal has been reached. And I see that morning on cable news a couple of different reports from the business end. Again, no mention of kids and safety at all. And Oracle's taking over, and this one's taking over, and there were stories planted prior to this that different ones were bidding for it and want to own it. Again, no talk about kids and safety. Now we have this deal. And that morning of December 18th, I asked many people during the course of the day, did you hear about the new TikTok deal? Not one person said yes to me. Actually, one said to me something like, I saw something come across my computer, I didn't read it. Okay. So I'm looking at this TikTok deal. And can't find a lot on it, really. But here's the bottom line for TikTok. Again, this new American version of TikTok will be going into effect by, I believe, February 2026, thereabouts. Again, the issue is very murky. So the administration has had a year to work on this, and details are very murky. And laid out who owns it. But here's the kicker. China will still own, different reports, anywhere from 20 to 22% of the company. Now, I ask you, I thought originally, under the Biden administration, the deal was national security threat. China can influence Americans, can influence them with their propaganda, knows everything we're doing. You know, the usual story we hear. We're kicking them to the curb. We're going to gain control, and we're going to have our own algorithms that we direct. Now, here, the only thing I really like about China, one of the few things, is that their TikTok in China is very different. It is 40 minutes a day for children. It automatically shuts down after 40 minutes. It shows educational material, nature, all kinds of good things to make a child feel good, right? As opposed, again, because I like to say the studies, I'm not just shooting this stuff out of my mouth. We have that show how kids are addicted to TikTok, and they have no attention span because the internet has fueled. You don't like something, you swipe to the next, you swipe to the next. Also, the comparisons, especially for teenage girls. As a matter of fact, I just saw, I guess he would be called a rock and roller. I won't use names, but his daughter, his 20-year-old daughter, was displaying her $200,000 reportedly of her Christmas gifts, everything from Chanel purses to Louboutins. So when this goes online and a teenage girl or a middle school girl sees, wow, look what she has, and how would I ever get that? And, oh, maybe because she's pretty and I'm not. You see how it affects the mental health of our kids? Again, we have lots of documentation for this. The algorithms are dangerous. We have so much sexual content kids aren't even looking for, it's fed to them. We have so much pornography online fed to our kids. We have things like, I digress here a little bit, but you got to hear me out. The App Store on Apple, where things are rated, 8 plus, 12 plus, where a study was done recently by our colleagues at the Heat Initiative a couple of months back, where they tested, I believe, 200 apps, and it was approximately over 70% were not rated correctly. 6 plus, 8 plus having sexual content in these apps, and parents are busy. So they go by, if a game or something, the child wants it, right? It says 12 plus, they think it's okay. It's the same thing for toys. I recently found out in doing our work with these AI toys, I'm going to call them monsters, I'm not going to call them toys, beginning to infiltrate the markets, especially at holiday time, right? Perfect time to catch people off guard and get them to subscribe something that's dangerous for their household. That they can slap any kind of label. I didn't know this on toys, an actual toy box, and say educational. There's no real qualification for this. You can just slap it on. And so what is going on here? So TikTok, let's get back to that. So we have this December 18th American deal announced. We still have China involved in ownership. But here's the kicker. We're still working out the algorithms. Now, they've had a year to work out algorithms, so I have no faith in this. I think TikTok will remain as it is, which is a tremendous moneymaker. It hurts me to say this to you. People will say to me on a daily basis, why is all this happening? Why are our children, up for grabs? Because it's profit over people. And since there's no accountability as of today, heading into 2026 for big tech, any of these platforms, they're going to keep ruling the roost, and they're going to keep abusing our children and making money off their backs, thus our backs. So I tell you these things because I want you to be aware, because basically, Christmas time, holidays, how many stores I saw the display racks with the gift cards, and they would have things like Roblox, real dangerous, that so many kids are on. And when I've asked the parents, do you know what Roblox is about? And they'd say, I don't know, some kind of game they create. So dangerous, so many predators on Roblox. Not just Roblox, all of them. Roblox happens to be a top one, though. They get the kids to slip into they pretend they're another child playing with them. Because there's no, age verification, and that's another one. How are we going to do age verification with privacy issues? It's a mess. It's a mess out there. It's the Wild West. So we've got a lot of adults on what are supposed to be children's sites, playing with them, conversing with them, and the kids may innocently think it is another child, but the adults, the predator, the criminals, are getting them to slip into the DMs, the direct messages. This is what's happening. And so many kids, every time I'm reading a story about this one disappeared, walking her dog. This one went to bed at night and he's not in his bed. I always, before I even read the entire thing or research it, I'm like, they met somebody online. They're doing something. And we do know that about 1 in 4 kids, used to be 1 in 5, now it's about 1 in 4. Remember, everything lags. When we know things, it's probably most likely higher. That, I'll say 1 in 4 will be the estimation. Online or approached with sexual content, dialogue, images. And of that 1 in 4, over 40% will attempt or go and meet that stranger in real time. I think that is completely frightening, okay? Our kids are this vulnerable. They're willing to go out and meet some stranger. Unacceptable. So we have TikTok. So I say, what is this deal about? Except making more money from more of these people, at Oracle and hedge funders Silver Lake and a couple of other companies, along with China still involved. How can this be good for our kids? It's not. So you need to be aware, because we're not going to stop any of this. You need to talk to your kids. You need to know what they're doing, right? We can't control everything. We can't watch everything, but we can start with having discussion with the kids, saying, there are bad people online. They want to make money off your back. When I say that to kids, they're like, really? They kind of sit up and say, wow. They want to hear more. So start with that. Start with letting the children know what's going on, because they're smart and they're savvy and they're learning. I no longer can stand when a parent says to me, I don't want to open the can of worms about pornography. You better, because the kids are seeing and hearing about all this stuff anyway. And you can be, and we have plenty of firsthand accounts. You can do everything correctly, we suggest, others suggest, and still your child is subject to all this exploitation. We have many stories like that, because they go to school and friends show them things, or they go to sleepovers, which, by the way, we're coming down hard on, don't do them, sleepovers, because a lot of bad things are coming out of these sleepovers. I mean, we didn't think twice, 20, 30, 40 years ago with sleepovers, right? But today, recently there was a story here in New York where a group of girls, they were about 14, I believe, had a sleepover, and they're playing around online, and they met some guy, and they all went out, and they all got trafficked. They got thrown in a truck, and they were driven to other states. Now, again, the details are murky, but they were recovered. But I'm saying, how dangerous is this? We're opening up the world to our children. I don't want to judge, but I think I have to start judging, because if you buy a device for your child, a Chromebook, an iPad, gaming, any of this, or the accessories, or an Apple Watch, any of it, you have to be armed like a warrior with the information we're talking about. And it is your duty to provide safeguards. And it starts with conversation with the child. It starts with, there are plenty of phones today that have no internet access, so your child doesn't have to feel left out. They have a phone, right? But they can't access the internet. That being said, their friends do and show them things. So how do we get around all of this? Again, it's discussion. You have to know what's going on, though. But there's a lot of hope, because we have things right now going on. For instance, the App Store Accountability Act. We want them to step up and put the correct ages on these apps, not just so a distracted parent or caregiver or grandparent says, oh, okay, little Susie, it says A+, I think it's okay, and buys it. Okay, end of discussion. Next thing you know, little Susie is watching some sort of pornography or something like that, talking to a stranger. We have that going on. We have the Kids Online Safety Act. We will never forget about that. We are into our going into our fifth year with this one, KOSA, K-O-S-A. It is right now in the House as we speak during the holiday. Well, I guess everybody went away for a couple of weeks. I guess they return beginning of January. It is being what they called a markup. And then sometime in January, we'll see what they're doing with this markup. But we're fighting hard. And we're urging everybody with Kids Online Safety Act, let's return to our Senate version, which sailed through the Senate 91-3 in a vote, okay, with the duty of care. Goes to the House. They take out the duty of care. Basically means big tech has to start stepping up. Why does all this have to fall on parents and kids, right? Why can't big tech, if they see harmful content? We know there's censorship online. I'll leave that one for another program. We know they can do things. Why can't they censor the CSAM, child sexual abuse material? Why is it their community standards, nude images of children in a lot of cases, uh, does not does not abuse our community standards? Really? It's a minor, okay? Why is it so tough to get a hold of anybody on these platforms to report anything? Although they pretend that, we're all in this together and we're all one big world and we're all online together. Profit over people. Remind yourselves. Remind yourselves. I used to think, and I used to say until fairly recently, our vulnerable communities are affected the most because it's easiest when somebody is vulnerable. A teenage girl is vulnerable. She may not have a parent in the home, a drug-addled parent, a parent who works 2 or 3 jobs. She's lonely. She's tasked with, taking care of her siblings. I'm using this as an example. And she finds companionship online. She finds somebody who tells her she's pretty, she's smart, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, let's meet up, and she gets trafficked. So I used to always say our vulnerable communities. But you know what? Today, everybody's vulnerable by virtue of the internet. But here's some other good news. Please go back and look for my interview with attorney Danny Pinter. I did about 10 days ago from the National Center on Sexual Exploitation in Washington, D.C. Great colleagues of ours doing great work, putting out great studies. I can't say enough great things about them because, again, all the work is based on facts, truths, studies that we can go and show people, go to Congress, go to courts, work with survivors. So we need that. So please support them as well. But she was telling me about the Sunset Section 230 Act, which I am here to say, and it might sound boring, so don't turn off your this little talk I'm doing right now with you, because I have always said for the last several years, until we kick that Section 230 to the curb, we amend it, as I like to say in Washington, because I was corrected recently with correct terminology. Okay, it's called sunsetting. Sunsetting. I say kick it to the curb. That's the warrior's way. There's this act now to get rid of it. And I have said, until we can get rid of that, which, just so you know, bear with me, in 1996, kind of considered the birth of the internet, when there were like 2 platforms, Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act was established. I completely understand it at the time, right? Almost 30 years ago. Saying online, they cannot be held responsible for any third-party content. Like, think of it like a newsstand, a billboard. I get it, don't you? Fast forward, things are heating up. Plenty of studies. The advent of the iPhone in 2008, we started seeing when that was the cool new gadget for everybody to get, especially kids. And parents willingly. We all suffered from it. You want the phone? We went out and bought it, okay? That was it. Handed the phone to the child. It's cool. It has a camera. It's internet. Fast forward, okay? Then we have the studies now that show us the decline in children education, mental health, all of these things. Direct correlation. Can you completely accuse the iPhone? You really can't. But you can look at the facts and see how grades started going down, critical thinking, critical analysis, anxiety, depression on the rise with kids. So now, with something good, if you want to say it's good, we had phones, we were able to be in contact with our kids, track them, know what was going on. There's always bad. So Section 230 was flipped into allowing predators. And big tech platforms fully took advantage of this Section 230. We're not responsible. We're just the billboard. We're just the newsstand. So you see how this now, 30 years later, Section 230 does not work. So I'm so happy to see there's this piece of legislation now. Again, all this is bipartisan, belongs to no political party, right? Anything for safety for kids online, our families. And so we've got that going on. The App Store Accountability Act, Kids Online Safety Act. We have work to do. So we're going into 2026. We're asking you to join us. Let's keep an eye on this TikTok. Because, again, details are murky, not acceptable. And I'm looking at this as a lot of, a few of the players we keep hearing about from hedge funders and these billionaires, making more money off the backs of our kids. It's unacceptable. And nobody's really talking about this angle of the TikTok deal. I'll keep an eye on it for you. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel. Make sure you remain vigilant. Make sure you talk to your kids. make sure when I put out the call, I'm trying to give a little relaxation during the holiday season, but we can really never have any time off. We work 24/7, 365 here at the Warriors. House.gov, Senate.gov, and you contact your representatives, and that you truly always honor our hashtag Community Creates Change. And remember, you wake up each and every day and you go out and be a warrior.